back just a second. The president on a phone call with President Xi of China, and guess who they're talking? Vladimir's ears must be burning because they're talking about him. Dividing up the carcass of what is soon to be formerly Russia. We'll get to that and an update on what's going on in Ukraine. And more. It is AM 770 KTTH. Let's get you to work with our right witch. We'll be back in just a second. The phone call with Biden and Xi happening right now. You hang up. No, you hang up first. No, you hang up first. No, you hang up. Let's hang up at the same time. Ready? Still there? Sort of not in the American, once you leave junior high, you don't care about, who you ask to call. But in any negotiation, if they call you, you're in charge. And definitely the Chinese know that. And so they made a point of saying that and saying, well, the Americans have requested a phone call, and President Xi went ahead and cleared out 15 minutes or whatever to talk to this Biden. And so they're on their video call. And then but the Chinese want to talk to us because so they're evidently still speaking President Xi Jinping. And there'll be a readout. I'll tell you more about this. Because what's at stake is not just dividing up the carcass of what will be left of Russia when this idiotic war is over, but what will be left of perhaps Taiwan or whatever. Very, very high stakes, we're told, but we'll see what happens. All right, so when we come back, you have to hear this. This is so funny. Let me begin with this. On the floor of the Senate, Chris Murphy, senator from Connecticut, he dunked on a bunch of Republicans who were saying yesterday that the president wasn't doing enough for Ukraine, including Senator Ben Sasse from Nebraska, who flat out said, look, let's give Ukraine the stuff to kill Russians, because Putin's not going to understand anything unless men go home feet first. So let's give them the stuff to kill Russians. Well, Chris Murphy has some words for them, and then Ben Sasse with one of the great all-time floor of the Senate ownages, dunks of all time. When we come back, and what about this Biden-Xi phone call? A little longer form on that in just a second. AM 770 KTTH. So the White House isn't tweeting out about this, but New York Times is. New York Times is saying, they're saying half an hour ago at 7. I thought it was 6. They're saying President Biden and China's leader, Xi Jinping, began their video call to discuss Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the White House said. Follow our updates on Ukraine. So, anywho, the Chinese make a big deal about who asked to talk to who. And it, we don't get this. It's sort of not in the American, once you leave junior high, you don't care about, who you ask to call. But in any negotiation, if they call you, you're in charge. And definitely the Chinese know that. And so they made a point of saying that and saying, well, the Americans have requested a phone call, and President Xi went ahead and cleared out 15 minutes or whatever to talk to this Biden. And so they're on their video call. And then but the Chinese want to talk to us because they're afraid of the collateral damage that they may suffer from sanctions, because they're seeing it's right on their border. They're seeing the real impact of these sanctions in Russia. And Putin said to Xi, I won't ruin your Olympics. Don't worry, this thing will be over in 72 hours. They're going to be renaming streets after me in Kiev, and by Friday, the 23rd of February, and, the whole thing. And not only did it not come true, but in the last 23 days, the entire competence of the Russian military from the top down is now not just under question, it's frankly doubted. And that is so much of your power. That's so much of your reputation. For the Russians, I mean, look at this. An entire class of pundits and analysts gave them way too much credit, myself included. And this is now terrifying Putin to realize that the people closest to him have been fooling him. Now, did they know? Have people been lying to them, to his Minister of Defense and the Army Chief of Staff? Well, that's part of the system. Of course it is. You lie up. Yeah, oh, absolutely. Every man shot marksman. There you go. Yeah, that's the crap that happens when there's no accountability. And by the way, the list of people close to Putin who have lost kids continues. A guy, a former KGB guy, who was Putin's lead project manager for the 2014 Sochi Olympics. He built the Formula One. The Russians made a big deal about having an F1 race, a Formula One race there in Sochi. He brought that project, in on time, way over budget, but on time, which is the important thing. Well, his son was a paratrooper. The paratroopers are the elite of the ground pounders. His son's dead. His son, according to a Russian website, was shot by artillery, which sounds nasty. And he's dead. So a guy Putin knows, a kid he met, is now dead. And so we don't know about all the other, sons of influential people and all that. So that's what she has played this absolutely masterfully. He said, yeah, let's team up and annoy the Americans. But he thought Putin was going to win, that this was going to be a slam dunk, and he would look quite mighty. Putin makes Xi look stupid. It makes the PLA, the People's Liberation Army, the Chinese military, look as incompetent as the Russians are. This is now, Putin is now spraying crazy juice on Xi, and Xi's understanding that. So if I were Biden, I wouldn't have asked for the phone call. I would have said, at a time and place, when you feel like it, you can burn a call into me, but we're going to be over here. Me and my friends in NATO are going to be trolling Putin. We're going to be absolutely taking their fearsome reputation, the fearsome reputation of the Red Army, and we're going to slam it against a rock and see what comes out.
But maybe Biden is pressing Western nations' advantage right now, because I can't help but think that there's no way Xi has been watching what's been unfolding in Ukraine and thinking, you know what, I would love to draw even closer to Russia. I would like to make better friends with Russia, because the biggest success in all of this thus far has been the rapidity with which Western allies have united and flexed our muscle with sanctions and weapons.
And that's the thing is, I would be, but I'm not in charge. This is, that's who the foreign policy, people are running this. So if I was on that phone call with Xi, I would say, stop me when you want to save your buddy's dignity. And so Ben Sass, probably the funniest, most articulate senator in the entire Senate from Nebraska, yesterday was one of a group of senators saying, hey, do more, send lethal weapons, the whole thing. He boiled it down to this in Ukraine.
More slowly, but actually have a shot at winning. The world needs the Ukrainians to win, and that means the Ukrainians need to be able to kill Russians, and to kill Russians, they need more weapon systems.
Boom, there you go. The guy understands war. That's how Putin works. He's not going to understand until there's a pile of bodies delivered to his doorstep, okay? So Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut tweeted out that the following senators that are saying that the Biden administration isn't doing enough for Ukraine voted against Ukrainian defense. And he tweets that out, and then there was a floor debate yesterday. Here's a little bit of what Chris Murphy said about his awesome tweet and these
Republicans very often are not willing to cast their vote in a way that is aligned with their voice. I see a fundamental inconsistency in criticizing an administration for not doing enough, but then not being willing to cast a vote to get aid to the people of Ukraine.
People of Ukraine. Okay, well, is that what that vote was last week? Here's Ben Sass with a retort.
So let me just see if I understand what you just said. So 0.8% of the bill that was passed in the middle of the night last week is about Ukrainian aid.
Correct.
Do you believe that the people who voted against it because they were against Ukrainian aid? I think you know that not a person who voted against it, the Omni, voted against it because of the Ukrainian aid. So I think it's a dishonest argument. But the real thing we're talking about is grandstanding, because there's not a person on earth who's persuaded by that kind of tweet. He didn't move anybody.
Ouch. Boy, he got him. Oh, wait. Wait, there's more, because he did grandstand with that tweet.
Became informed, but there is a subset of the people who already like you that you got to grandstand for. That's all that happened with that tweet. The Republic got dumber because of that tweet. Nobody learned anything.
He's channeling that scene from Billy Madison.
The people who
yeah, I just realized that's a great drop. The Republic got dumber because of that tweet.
that you got to grandstand for. That's all that happened with that tweet. The Republic got dumber because of that tweet.
Oh, that's perfect. I want to take out those tanks. That's all I know. Well, the Republican suits here, and I just want to take out those tanks. Take out those tanks.
I'd like to take out those tanks.
You'll get your chance. So, hey, when we come back, everything about China and Russia explained in about 48 to 49 seconds.
The guy's got big-ass weapons.
Big sass weapons is what he means. This is that was Senator Ben Sass from 3 weeks ago. Shirtless, holding up both arms, flexing his biceps, and he's right. The guy's got big sass weapons. Something that as I click around the national and international media today, I see as we're waiting for the readout from the president's call with President Xi, there's a gigantic missing piece that nobody is getting, that you're about to get. And it is that when prior to the Winter Olympics, Putin went to Beijing, met with Xi. They signed a natural gas deal. It's nowhere. It's not going to cover any of the loss of sales to the Western Europeans or the Eastern Europeans. He's going to lose a lot of money because when they need you, you don't pay premium. You lowball Putin at this point. It's like, where are you going to go? So anyway, he got himself into this trap. But here's what she sees when Putin says, hey, there's going to be a war. It's going to be really quick. It's going to be over in 3 days tops. I mean, how can it not? We're the Red Army. And by the way, folks, they still do call themselves the Red Army. And she says back to Putin, awesome. It's going to be relatively damage free, right? And yeah, it is. Okay, because let me just remind you, Vladimir, that China owns somewhere between 6 and 11% of Ukraine's farmland. Because as we all know, Ukraine is it's the fifth largest wheat exporter in the world, and Russia's the first. But we here in China bought thousands of acres back in 2013. We're leasing it back to the farmers that work it. That's our wheat. Okay, we count on that wheat. And you're not going to screw with our wheat, are you? Because it's going to be the spring, and that's our wheat. And Vladimir said, no, it's going to be super quick. You won't even know there's a war. It won't even make headlines. It'll be over that fast. It was supposed to be over, 2.5 weeks ago. That's me in real time. Okay, so people don't know that. But that's one of the hottest irons in his fire is that wheat has to get planted. He has to be able to count on it by late summer and fall because of harmony. Because if he can't count on grain coming to China, there may not be harmony. There may be disharmony because as China has gotten richer, just like every other country that's prospered, the United States led the way. The reason we're so awesome is because we began to prosper in the late 1800s when people began to consistently eat beef. Because we could raise beef and get it refrigerated to San Francisco from Oklahoma, in 18 hours, and so and beef became cheaper, so we ate more beef because as we were prospering, as all societies prosper and the middle class grows and grows and grows, what happens? They eat more protein, and so farmers who can grow feed corn start making more money than they did before. So you feed pigs, feed corn. You feed cows, feed corn. So in China, there's been a tremendous shift that China used to be the largest grain grower, but they didn't export it. Well, one of the problems here is that as there's now 300 million middle-class Chinese, nearly as many as are Americans, they want more protein, and protein eats corn, not wheat. So they've been switching to corn. And she said, not a problem. Other countries grow wheat. We'll import the wheat from there. In fact, we'll buy the land in Ukraine. We'll even buy some in America. And we'll have the yokels grow it, the whole thing. But nobody in America goes to Xi and says, hey, hi, I'm the governor of Iowa, and I am going to pick a issue with South Dakota, and we're going to be invading South Dakota. But don't worry, it'll be a really quick invasion, and it'll be over in 3 days. That doesn't happen. But Putin came to Xi, and that's important, because Xi hasn't left his country now in 2.5 years. Putin came to Xi and said, it's not going to affect your wheat growth. It won't affect the harvest. Don't worry about it. It'll be over so fast. In fact, the Ukrainian Nazis' blood will fertilize your delicious wheat or whatever. But that's a dynamic that nobody is covering at all. And if you're Biden, it's maybe not on your radar. If you're Xi, that is the radar. That's the radar scope, right there. And so we don't know what was said, but bottom line, this is the part of the Bond movie where Blofeld turns to Putin and says, how is the invasion of Ukraine going? It was supposed to be over in 72 hours. And Putin says, it's day 23. And I may have north of 10,000 guys dead. Luckily, we'll never get a real count because when a T-72 burns, the 3 crewmen wind up as an oily pool.
And then Putin pushes the button, and then the chair turns upside down.
Blofeld,
and the guy goes,
no, she is Blofeld.
Oh, wrong reference?
Yeah. She is at the head of the table at Spectre. And when Putin says, I know I said 3 days, Chief, but we're at day 23, then she presses a button. Well, she's pressing the button. His problem now is that he doesn't want to look like, oh, crap, I bet on the wrong horse on this one. And that well, first of all, the horse lied to me. The horse came to the head trainer's room and said, yeah, don't worry, I'll win the Kentucky Derby. Look, this really happened. I'm not making this up. So yesterday, St. Patrick's Day, Amateurs Day, I hope you're all having a good time. If you need a motivation to wake up earlier at 6 a.m., I promised to keep this to 6 a.m., just to cure people's hangovers or wake them up and the whole thing. But what really happened yesterday was River Dance was there, which is the equivalent. What's the cultural equivalent?
This is the song that was playing while the River Dance people were doing their river dancing. Does this sound like authentic Irish music to you?
What the what?
I don't know. It was awkward. The whole event was weird yesterday.
Bono, and I Googled him. I searched him up. From Ireland. U2 is from Ireland, everyone. Who knew? Anyway, he sent Nancy Pelosi a poem about Ukraine, and she busted out a rhyme, a Bono rhyme, and it went a little something like this.
Introduce them. I got this message this morning from Bono, and most of us.
I love how she just drops that, like.
She loves the name drop.
Like, oh,
my buddy Bono.
So I'm on the blower with the lead singer of U2. Perhaps you've heard of him, Bono.
He texted LOL.
Yeah, he said, busted a Ukraine rhyme, lol, it's all yours. As I call him Paul Hewson, but everyone else calls him Bono. But here, anyway, let's get on with the poem.
Introduce them. I got this message this morning from Bono. And most of us, we're always, whether we're in Ireland or here or whatever it is, Bono has been a very Irish part of our lives. And he said...
I thought it was Cher.
He said, "Oh, St. Patrick, he drove out the snakes with his prayers, but that's not all it takes. For the smoke symbolizes an evil that arises and hides in your heart as it breaks. And the evil risen from friends, from the darkness that lives in some men, but in sorrow and fear, that's when saints can appear, to drive out those old snakes once again. And they struggle for us to be free from the psycho in this human family. Ireland's sorrow and pain is now the Ukraine, and St. Patrick's name is now Zelensky." About that.
And she laughs at herself. There one.
Nothing wrong with the poem or the sentiment therein. It's just the messenger is a little awkward for me.
Yeah. There once was a man from NATO
And again,
got a little blotto.
Put some music to it and get the Edge to play guitar. You know, you're halfway there.
Well, here's my thing. How about pre-read it? How about read it through once?
Or couldn't have Bono left a voice message or something?
Yeah, she could hold up her phone or something. But the visual you're missing, and you can follow me at Dark Secret Place. I tweeted out the C-SPAN video, is that she was so proud of herself for getting through that poem by the former congressman from Palm Springs, the late congressman from Palm Springs, that she was doing the uncontrollable twitching. That, remember, 2 weeks ago at the State of the Union, when President Biden started to dig up the corpse of Beau Biden, she stood up and did that weird knuckle rubbing, if you know what I'm saying. She did the weird knuckle rubbing. Well, yesterday when she got through the poem successfully, she did the jaw back and forth thing. She did the weird Pirates of the Caribbean, skeleton with a sword thing.
Countries.
Oh, wait, I didn't even know the right clip.
And then she had to have one of her handlers point to her the direction to go after she was done introducing Riverdance. That new thing, Biden has that as well when they're in these very public platforms, and then they say their piece, and then they have no idea where to turn or where to shuffle out of when they're done.
Yeah,
it's like over here, go over there. Yeah, where am I? Where am I going?
If I was Bono, I would have my final line would not be Zelensky. It would be something like, let's give Zelensky the tools to...
Some big-ass weapons.
Let's give Zelensky the tools to get those wanks so that...
I'd like to take out those tanks.
Thank you. Good night.
So we could spanks the tanks.
Yeah, so for the Russians, for spanks.
And offer our thanks.
And then let her... And so give him the javelins. We don't need his thanks.
I'd like to take out those tanks.
Then rise into the ranks.
Yeah, and then drop the... Wait, say that again.
Rise into the ranks of the
I'd
tanks.
I'd like to take out those tanks.
With many thanks.
Oh, there you
go.
As
we sanction... No, that doesn't work.
Improving Nancy's addiction. So the state treasurer is now lobbying this week because... Wednesday, we saw a pot shop robbery, Eastern Washington wheat farmer. Increase in natural gas prices automatically means increase in farm product prices because you need natural gas to make ammonium nitrate. And ammonium nitrate is the fertilizer of choice in Ukraine, Russia, the United States, Colfax, Pullman, St. John, and Endicott. The entire Palouse, where it's the most productive wheat growing region on the face of the earth, is the Palouse. It's so fertile. There's a giant earthworm unique to there, and so there you go. So that will affect that'll affect wheat prices here, and it's a thing. It's all a thing. But nobody. I'm not seeing anyone in the American media, even Fareed Zakaria. Even point to the fact that China had a dog in the fight, but they had a dog in a quick fight. They didn't want a dog in a long fight, and Putin didn't deliver.